Hello. The PMI has recently released the first details of what the new PMP, Project Management Professional exam will look like. And that new exam will start from the 16th of December 2019. So in this video, I want to examine what we already know about the new PMP examination. The change in the PMP examination is going to be a big one. Up until now, the examination has been designed around 5 domains which mirror closely the 5 process groups of the project management body of knowledge. The initiating domain has carried around about 13% of the questions in the exam, the planning domain 24%, the executing domain 31%, monitoring and controlling 25%, and finally the closing domain 7%. But all that's going to change, and it's not a small change, rearranging the numbers, the percentage of questions for each domains. It is a completely new domain structure, which looks a lot more like the PMI's Talent Triangle than it does the contents of the project management body of knowledge. From December, we're going to be working with 3 domains as the structure for the new PMP examination. Those 3 domains are going to be people, process, and the business environment. The domain which is going to look most familiar is the process domain, because that carries a lot of the technical project management skills which are articulated in the project management body of knowledge. The people and business environment domains are going to be rather different. So let's take a look in some more detail about what we know. The Project Management Institute jealously guards the reputation of its premier qualification, the Project Management Professional, or PMP. So it regularly updates the standards and how it assesses them. And this major exam change is no different. It is a part of a regular 3 to 5 year cycle. And it starts with a formal job task analysis or role delineation study, RDS. This is a piece of research which tries to understand the trends in our profession, and it looks at how the current PMP exam addresses those trends and what needs to change. So it feeds the role delineation study into a job task analysis to produce a specification for the most relevant PMP exam for the coming period. And I would interpret here relevant to mean the things that we as project managers need to do in our real day-to-day work. And therefore, the new PMP exam will have questions that are different. It will take on new topics to reflect the changes in the way that project managers need to manage and lead our projects. And the specification for all this is set out in the PMP's Examination Content Outline, or ECO. The last one was in June 2015, and the newest one has just been issued in June 2019. So, in short, the project management profession is changing, so the PMP is changing its examination to reflect those changes so that a PMP, a project management professional, can rigorously claim to have the skills that you need to be a project management professional in the world of work. It's probably worth saying a few words about the relationship between the examination content outline and the examination itself on the one hand, and the project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK guide, on the other, because some people naively think that the PMBOK is nothing more nor less than a syllabus for the examination. And that's not true. It is just a source of information. It reflects a substantial chunk of what the PMP considers at any one time to be its project management body of knowledge. But the PMBOK guide itself isn't the syllabus for the course. It isn't the syllabus you require for the exam. It is just a part of it. And it's always been that way. But I think the change that's happening now is that distinction, that differentiation is becoming clearer and more marked. Because whereas in the June 2015 examination content outline, and therefore the examination that pertains now and will continue to pertain until the 15th of December, the domains that you need to be examined on, they mapped closely and in language matched the process groups of the project management body of knowledge. That won't be the case. And as I said at the start, I think that the new domains are a better fit to the PMI's Talent Triangle, which is an attempt, I believe, to map out the real breadth of our knowledge base, our professionalism, if you like. So, the people domain of the new examination, to my mind, mirrors in some way the leadership dimension of the PMI's Talent Triangle, whilst the process domain looks towards the technical aspects of the Talent Triangle, the technical project management dimension. And the business environment domain of the new examination reflects PMI's emphasis on strategic and business management within its Talent Triangle. And we get some idea of the PMI's current thinking about the weighting of these three domains by looking at the percentage of questions in the examination, but also looking at the number of tasks, the number of components that make up each of those domains. So, the people domain will account for 42% of the questions in the examinations, and they have 14 tasks, which is around 40% of the description of the content. The process domain accounts for 50% of the questions and 49% of the tasks, 17 out of the 35 tasks. And the business environment domain will account for just 8% of the questions in the exam and is reflected by 4 out of 35 tasks. That's around about 11%. But of course, tasks don't map onto percentage of content very well, because some tasks within the examination content outline are going to contain a far broader amount of knowledge than others. The other important thing to note is that the examination will split approximately equally between traditional predictive project management, the kind of content that fills the project management body of knowledge guide, and agile or hybrid approaches, which reflects the agile practice guide. But of course that 50-50 isn't reflected well by the number of pages within the two guides. So I think we can expect over the years that the Agile Practice Guide, which is in its first edition, will grow and expand to broadly reflect that balance, assuming, of course, that project management and our practices continue on the current trajectory. So what are we going to find in each of those domains? Well, for a full description of what the PMI has released, do take a look at the examination content outline for yourself. The first domain, people, has a lot of stuff in it and a lot of very important and good stuff, and I welcome it all. There's a task that reflects managing conflict, and there are a large number of tasks that reflect different aspects of team management and leadership. So we see task 2, lead a team. 3, support team performance. 4, empower team members and stakeholders. 5, ensure team members and stakeholders are adequately trained. And task 6, build a team. And task 7 is to address and remove impediments, obstacles and blockers for the team. So this is the kind of core team leadership, team management content. But there's more. There's engage and support virtual teams, something I hugely welcome because virtual teams are becoming a bigger and more complex part of our working life. And to my mind, there isn't enough really good research on this, but it's great to see the PMI prioritising it, and I hope that will trigger a lot more thinking and writing about this. Task 12 is to define team ground rules. For me, a small, distinct package of work, but can be very, very important, particularly in a large, complex, multidisciplinary, multicultural team. And finally, task 14 is to promote team performance through the application of emotional intelligence. So the work that Daniel Goleman published back in the mid-90s, based on very academic research, Daniel Goleman brought that to the fore, and we've done a video about that on this channel, is now a formal part of the PMP examination. And there's more, because the first domain of people, also talks about negotiation in task 8, and very specifically about stakeholder engagement in 3 of its 14 tasks. So we see task 9 is to collaborate with stakeholders, and task 10 is to build shared understanding. And finally, task 13 is interesting. It's to mentor relevant stakeholders, which I think is it's starting to look at our roles as project managers in helping the people around us, both our team members and our stakeholders, to develop and to be more effective in their roles. Arguably, the domain which will be the most familiar to people who have recently taken their PMP examination under the existing system is domain 2, which is process. This is where the technical project management elements are there. And you can do a mapping of this onto the project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK guide chapters, which we've done in the accompanying article. So I'm not going to take you through all of that, but I will point out that 3 tasks really do represent components that are largely missing from the project management body of knowledge PMBOK guide. Task 14 is to establish project governance, and I have long said that the PMBOK is woefully light on this, and I've also published a long extended article on issue management for project managers, where I describe it as the missing process from the PMBOK guide. And finally, knowledge transfer for project continuity is task 16, and that's also largely missing from the PMBOK guide. The other one I want to highlight is task 13, determine appropriate project methodology, methods and practices, because this is covered to a degree in chapter 1 of the PMBOK guide. It's also, of course, covered to a high degree in the Agile Practice Guide. So this is where we see very clearly the Agile Practice Guide coming into the technical stuff. But I'm going to emphasize again what PMI says. Across the whole 3 domains, across all of the tasks, they will expect candidates to be able to answer questions that might relate equally to traditional predictive project management on one hand and agile or hybrid methods on the other. So you have to study each of the tasks within the domains and look at the implications of those tasks for agile projects, for predictive plan projects, and also for hybrids. Domain 3 is about the business environment, and as I say, I think that matches very nicely to the strategic and business management dimension of the talent triangle. There are 4 tasks in there, and that sounds few, but they are big, meaty things. Plan and manage project compliance is number 1, and this links into the project governance aspect, which I so cherish and really value that. But what really got me excited was seeing evaluate and deliver project benefits and value. I think project benefits management has been, again, missing completely from the PMI's formal published methodologies, and I like this. I think this is really important for us as project managers to engage with it. Program management methodologies and the methodologies coming out of the UK Prince 2 MSP methodology set have had this for many years, but now it's coming to the PMI, and I think that's great. Task 3 is evaluate and address external business environment changes for impact on scope, and I think this leans towards the idea of business acumen. And I think that puts us as project managers at a much more strategic level of our organisations when we're able to deal in this environment. And finally, support organisational change. Since the late 1990s, I've been arguing that change management and project management, the management of changes within an organisation and project management of creating new assets, new processes, new systems, are two ends of a spectrum of skills rather than two distinct skill sets. And here I see the PMI starting to crystallise that thought. So I think that you will already have got the gist of my point of view. I like these changes and I like them a lot. Obviously, I want to hear more about the role of predictive, agile and hybrid approaches in the exam and how they're going to be integrated. The examination content outline says very little about that. There will be more, I'm sure, to come from the PMI, as I'm sure there will be more details across the board. And of course, I can find picky things to dispute. Nobody's going to produce a document that everyone is going to like in its entirety, but I think those are all very much nitpicky things. The headline for me is that I love the introduction of project governance, benefits management, team leadership, management of change, and the soft skills that facilitate stakeholder engagement. They facilitate good team leadership. They're about influence and negotiation. Now, some people will say that a lot of this has already been in the 2015 examination content outline and in the exams that people have been taking for the last 4 years. If you look at page 11 of the 2015 ECO, you'll see a list of cross-cutting knowledge skills, which include things like conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and negotiation, meeting management, delegation, coaching, mentoring, training, benefits realization. So it was all there. But I think this is a big change. For people who say, well, it was all there, so how much of a change is it? Perhaps it's just rearranging some deck chairs around. But I think it is a big change because they're now no longer cross-cutting knowledge and skills that you're kind of expected to have in the back of your mind and may need to bring to bear. Now they are the things you're going to be examined on. And I think our partners think the same. I spoke with Cornelius Fish, who is the president of OSP International. Most of my community will know him best as the voice and the expertise and the genius behind PM Prepcast and all the products that they produce to help aspiring PMPs, CAPMs, PMI ACP candidates to prepare for successful examination. And I'd like to read what he said to me. He said in a private email, he said, as a PMP trainer, I've always focused not only on teaching my students how to pass their exam, but also on how to become better project managers. That's why I think the change in the ECO is a step in the right direction. With this change, Cornelius says, PMI is moving away from the 5 current and somewhat technical domains and shifts the focus of the exam to test a candidate's knowledge of and experience in the skills necessary to actually lead and manage a project. This is not to say that the knowledge of project management methods, concepts and techniques is any less important. But a candidate will now also need to show that they truly know how to lead a project and how to bring it to successful completion. So what should you do if you want to beat the PMP exam change and take the current exam? Well, you haven't got much time. My advice very much echoes that of the PMP and other examination preparation providers. It's get in soon and plan your campaign thoroughly. The PMP explicitly says that you should reserve your exam spot early, and it suggests 3 months in advance, so that means booking your slot before mid-September. You should pay promptly, of course, that's always good advice, but that will avoid you forgetting to pay and losing your slot. And the PMI publishes a PMP timeline, so study it and follow it. What they don't say, I think, is that there will be a lot of pressure on candidates in the run-up to the 15th of December to pass their exam, more than usual. Because if you don't pass first time, then it'll become increasingly unlikely that you'll have time before the 15th of December to schedule a second attempt under the current exam guidelines. So you'll need to do a whole lot of extra preparation. So there's clearly an advantage, possibly a big advantage, in taking your exam before the 15th of December. We understand the current outline. The people like Cornelius and his colleagues and other organisations are very experienced in helping to prepare you for the current exam. And of course, so are the examiners who set the questions and set pass marks and determine what the correct answers are. They all understand the existing examination content outline extremely well. Shortly after the 16th of December, you'll get the two effects. You'll get examination preparation aids, whether it's books or courses or online materials, will be, I suppose, in a kind of beta stage where the people who have prepared them have done a fantastic job in getting them out, but they will be looking to see how candidates respond to them, whether they cause misunderstandings, whether they're covering all the ground, because of course they won't have seen any of the examinations then to really benchmark. And plus, the examinations will be new, and it's difficult to calibrate a new examination well at the start. So there could well be some form of teething troubles. It could work in both directions. You could find it easier to pass than perhaps you should, or you could find it harder. So we'll be in new territory from the 16th of December. I think realistically that means from the new year. And that means uncertainty, and uncertainty is risk, and as project managers we don't like risk, so you have to think very carefully. And as before, when the new project management body of knowledge came out, we advised that you wait until the first cohort of examinees have passed through the system and shaken out the problems, and I think this new exam system will need a shakedown run. So I've told you what I think. I've told you what our partners think. But now I want to end by telling you what I really think. What I really think is this is a brilliant transformation of perhaps the most important project management certification available at the moment. PMP has bitten the bullet. It's moved away from two anchors that it had set itself. One was that its primary domain of knowledge was around what we might call traditional, planned, predictive project management. And the other is that its PMP examination was hooked largely around technical skills. Now we're going to see a new examination which places agile and hybrid forms of project management on an equal footing to planned predictive project management, and an examination which places all the soft skills and all the business context right to the forefront, giving them substantial weighting in the skill set you'll need to have to achieve your PMP qualification. And I think this is great. I think this is good for the industry, and it is good for practitioners. And if I really had to give you my heartfelt advice, what I'd say is this: if you're contemplating taking the PMP examination and wondering whether to go for it before December the 15th or after, I'd say wait. I'd say take the new examination. It's going to be harder, and it's going to have all the problems of dealing with a new examination and a new examination regime for at least 1 or 2 quarters. But I think the qualification will be a better one, and I think that the best employers will know that, will understand that, and will value that. I don't know that's true, but I sincerely hope it is true. And I think anyone taking the new PMP examination after December the 15th, 2019, will be taking a better examination, and therefore when you pass, you will be a better prepared project management professional. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to learn through your email of new videos as soon as I publish them. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.